Hi, folks. Today I'm going to be talking about onboarding for photographers and how to create all those amazing feelings in them after your clients book you. All right, so this guide is going to help photographers develop an onboarding strategy that keep their clients who have actually booked them in a positive mindset and feel good about booking you. So these are the 4 reasons I'm going to go over in this guide that onboarding is important, and then I'm also going to give you some action steps on how to apply these things in just a minute. Okay, so the number one reason is the moments after clients book you are just as important as before they book you. Okay, and there's lots and lots of research out there that shows that the moments after someone makes a purchase or books you are the most important moments. Okay, and so number 2, photographers ghosting after they're booked by their clients is just as common and feels just as bad as when clients do it to us as photographers. Okay. Number 3, reason why onboarding is important. Onboarding is a great way to have your clients promote your work for you and tell others they've hired you. It's called social clout. Right? And if you can come up with a great plan and a strategy on how to implement this, and if your clients feel good enough about booking you, then they'll willingly do this for you, and you won't have to do the work. It's kind of like free marketing. And number 4 reason why onboarding is important. So onboarding helps create the clients you love, so you can ensure they'll love you and your work in the end. Okay, and I'll discuss all these things in just a moment. All right, so number 1. The first interactions after clients book you are just as important as before they book you. Okay, so if you have been a photographer for a few years and you've actually tried to start a business, you've probably realized at this point that your actual photography, the button pushing part of your business, is really a small slice. You're really a salesperson, a marketer, administrator, secretary, HR, CEO, financial admin, among so many others, right? And if you have gone all in, you completely understand this. Okay, so this is part of that. It's an important part of it, okay? Being someone who knows how to interact with the clients after they book you is important. You're not just a photographer, likely. There are a few exceptions out there. If you've been in it for several years and you had a big break, then maybe you can hire people to do this other stuff. But most of us in the beginning, this is our responsibility. So we need to make new clients feel at home and reassure them that we're going to be doing a great job for them, right? This is one of the reasons onboarding is so important. Think about like when you join a new gym, or you join a new Facebook group, or maybe you go to a new meetup in your hometown. Think about the groups and meetups and memberships that you felt the best about. What did they do to make you feel good? Or what did they ask you to do to make you feel good? So, like I said, research shows that right after a client books a photographer, they're more likely to actually do something. Okay, and we'll talk about that a little more in depth. But they're all tied together, okay? Making clients feel at home is directly connected to them doing things that are going to make them feel more happy and more at home and more comfortable having just hired you. And this is very, very important for the whole process. You don't just sell an online digital product that they can download and install to their computer. You are selling yourself. And yourself needs to be present and interactive after yourself has been hired. Okay. Again, your photography is only 10% of what you do. Get that in your head. Here's an action step for you. Very, very important to take action when you learn something new. So if you're going through the Edit for Influence bootcamp, then I want you to go back to the emotion you decided you wanted your photos to create in your clients. It was back in the first 10 days of the boot camp. I want you to think about 3 small actions you want your clients to do after they've booked you that will create that emotion. What are 3 things you want your clients to do? Not that you're necessarily going to do for them, because you did that. Okay? You provided value. You spent time editing your photos in a certain way. You created presets. You saved yourself time. You came up with a strategy to get them to book you. But now we're talking about the things that you want them to do after they've booked you. Okay? Some examples might be, so my emotion for my brand is inspiration. So what I like to do, one thing that is really, really important for me is I want them to go back to the photos that inspired them. And I want them to pin the top 10 most inspirational photos. I want them to create a mood board on Pinterest. But I don't want them to be my wedding photos. I want them to be my engagement photos, because what I want them to do is create a mood board for me, and at the same time pimp out my photos on Pinterest. The mood board for me is so I can see and get a vibe as to which photos they're really, really digging. And that helps me plan for the engagement shoot that I'm going to do with them, because I do engagement shoots with all my wedding clients. So what I asked them to do is I asked them to go back to my portfolio, and on Squarespace I have the ability to add a little pin button at the top of every single photo on my website. You can go check it out at markmaya.com if you want to see what I'm talking about. Whenever the mouse hovers over any photo, you see the little pin button in the top left, I believe. And so what I do is I ask them to go to my portfolio site, and I tell them, only do. I think I initially said all the photos that inspire you, but then I think most recently I have limited it to 10 to 15 is what I said now. So pin 10 to 15 images that you love and inspire you the most from my portfolio site, and that are engagement photos, and create a mood board. And then I ask them to send me a link to that mood board from their Pinterest. What did I just do? I asked them instantly to go back to the reason they booked me and create a product from it. I'm a teacher. I've been teaching for 10 years. I've taught a lot of different people. And what I've learned is that the way people can truly, truly experience and learn and imprint knowledge in their brains and minds is to actually create a product around that knowledge and the content. And the content in this case are my photographs and the way it makes them feel. So that's one example of what I do. And like I said down there at the bottom, make sure that one of these actions includes the sharing of your photos in some way. Maybe you ask them to do this on Facebook. It'd be very, very easy. Tell them to right-click on your images and save image as, and post them to Facebook. Create an album in Facebook and send that album link to you. Again, tell them to make sure it's public. They'll do it, I promise you, especially if you do this right after they book you. I was talking about that, just a moment ago. They're more likely to instantly, without question, do what you ask them to do the moments right after they book you. Research proves this. Okay? Go check it out. If you go Google that. That's all been proved recently. Right? And it works really, really well. And it kills a lot of birds with one stone. Again, it takes them back to that emotion that caused them to book you in the first place. It reminds them why they booked you by looking at your photos. It is free marketing for your best photos to book more clients like them. And it's also a form of word of mouth because all of their followers now see that they just pinned a bunch of your beautiful photos and now they get to look at them. So it's a great technique. Give it a try. Okay, so come up with 2 other things that you might want them to do after they've booked you that will create that emotion. All right, be creative. Don't try to overdo it here either. Okay, make sure they're small, simple, easy things. All right, so next thing, ghost photographers. So many photographers out there complain about clients ghosting them after they contact them. You know what? Clients complain about photographers ghosting them after they book them. Okay. If you're in your first or second year, you've probably done this. I did this starting off. You're like, you get booked by a client and you're like, yeah, and you go celebrate and stuff, and then you just forget about them until the shoot date. You're just like, all right, I'm good. Can you imagine if you joined a Facebook group about, for wedding photographers, and you were really excited initially signing or joining, you answered those questions, which are onboarding, by the way. When you join Facebook groups and they ask you those questions, that's onboarding. Okay. You go through, you answer those questions, and then there's crickets until you get that message or that post that says, hey, I have this thing I'm selling, or or whatever, something icky like that. And that's the same feeling that your clients feel when they spend sometimes thousands and thousands of dollars on your services, and they don't hear from you until their wedding day or the shoot day. It's the same thing. So ask yourself these 2 questions to not be a ghost photographer. How much contact do you have with your clients after they've booked you, and how often? Be honest. Be completely honest. If you're a ghost photographer, just own up to it. We're going to change it, all right? But how much contact do you have with your clients after they've booked you, and how often? Okay, be honest. Second question on how to not be a ghost photographer. All right, answer it honestly. Are there important bits of information that will be important for them to know since they've hired you? This is kind of where you can jump in. Some of you are like, well, what do I want to contact them about? You want to contact them about those important bits of information, because they've just spent thousands of dollars or maybe hundreds of dollars on your services. Give them some more information about what's next. What are the next steps? Okay. Go back to the 3 action steps in the previous slide and break those action steps down into, bite-size tasks that you want them to do. This is a great way to keep in contact with them. And it also shows them that you know what you're doing and that you weren't just out to get them to book you and then ghost. Okay. Sharing, the Pinterest thing, the Pinterest mood board is something that I do. I also have created a resource to help them plan out their wedding day. That's not directly related to photography, but it kind of is, because isn't my day, my wedding photography day when I'm shooting their wedding, isn't it based around their schedule? Wouldn't it be valuable to me if I helped them with that and walk them through that? So those are 2 things that I do. And I break it down task by task. I give them little steps. I give them guides. I give them resources. I email them. I'm texting them, If it's important, then you'll do it. Okay. So those are 2 questions to ask to not become a ghost photographer. Here's an action step. So look at the 3 actions from step 1. Make a plan on how you'll get them to take those 3 actions. How are you going to help them through it? How are you going to help them? How are you going to guide them to sharing your photos to all their followers and all their friends as quickly as possible? That's what you want. You want to make it easy, but you want to make it fun, exciting, and you want to make sure that they feel like that emotion that you have decided your brand represents and your photos represent. Okay. And again, if you're going through the Edit for Influence Bootcamp, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. Okay, so action step. Look at the 3 actions from step 1. Make a plan on how you'll get them to take those 3 actions. And ask yourself, how will you help them? It might just be a Google Doc with a step-by-step list. I have this in, I think I use Google Keep now. No, I think I do. I use Google Keep now. I used to use things like Google Docs, but I love Google Keep. And I just have these step-by-step onboarding steps that I copy and paste and send to my clients when I am ready to start the onboarding process. So it's a great way to save time. All right. So number 3, book clients are great marketers. I've talked about this, but it's a really, really big important thing about onboarding. Okay. Use onboarding as marketing. Marketing is one of the most elusive, out there things for photographers because it's the thing that we intuitively have the least experience and knowledge about. If you don't believe me, go to Facebook and ask your photographer friends how they feel about marketing, how confident they feel about marketing their photography. I guarantee you the majority of them are going to feel overwhelmed, scared, and hesitant to even take any type of action. Okay, we overcomplicate things. We think we should do it all ourselves. We think we're responsible for all of our marketing for our photos in all ways. And we also think that it requires a lot of money. And it doesn't. I gave you one example with the Pinterest and the Facebook thing just a moment ago. That's one very, very simple and easy way to use onboarding to have your book clients market for you. There's lots and lots of other ways to do that. You can use Instagram hashtags. You can ask them to create. You can do the same thing on Instagram, by the way. You have that collections button, so you could ask them to go to Instagram, go through your grid, and create a collection of their favorite photos from your grid. That way, you can get a better idea of the types of photos that you will shoot on their wedding day or engagement shoot or whatever they hired you for. And when you tell them that's the reason you're doing it, they're a lot more likely to do it rather than, hey, I don't have any, here's the other scenario. I don't have any money for marketing, so I really need you to go to Instagram or Pinterest or Facebook and create an album for me so other people will see it. Doesn't that sound different? But notice it's also literally the exact same thing. Okay, so use your clients that you just booked in your onboarding as marketing. All right, don't overcomplicate it. Marketing is just putting your best work out there so you can attract the people that you want to. And who are more likely to know the people that are going to book you other than the people that have booked you already? Okay, so use this. It's smart and it's actually pretty easy. All right, an action step with this. So you're making the connections, I hope. So look at the 3 actions from step 1 and the plan that you created in step number 2 previously, and ask yourself, what is one simple way you can get them to market your photos, your best, most beautiful, most emotional photos for you without you having to do anything except ask them and give them and break it down step by step. So again, looking at the 3 actions from step 1 and the plan from step 2, ask yourself, what is one simple way you can get them to market your photos for you without having to do anything? Okay. Be creative here. Don't hesitate. Just write it down, make a decision. Number 4, no more bridezillas. All right. This is such an interesting conversation I love having with photographers because I sit there and I mentor and I coach and I work with thousands of photographers at this point that think bridezillas are just bridezillas and that some brides or clients are just bad to work with. I don't agree with this at all. I believe that bridezillas are created by the photographers that they hire. And one huge reason is because there is no onboarding. Okay. I believe that the reason bridezillas evolve into bridezillas, they're not bridezillas when they hire you. They're happy to hire you. They just spent thousands on you. Does that sound like a bridezilla to you? Somebody who pays one single person to take photos on one day? Pays one single person thousands of dollars? That does not sound like someone who has an attitude to me. Okay? And so understand the psychology and the process and the mindset of your clients. Get to know them more. Get to know, again, the emotion that makes them book you. Get to know what are some things that have previously caused people to book you, and keep them in that zone. Keep them in that mindset through onboarding. I've never had a bridezilla, ever. I've never, ever, ever had a bridezilla. And it's because I make sure to build good relationships with my couples along the way. I make sure they know I care. I make sure they feel the emotion that I want them to feel of inspiration and happiness and joy and optimism. And I exude that in my emails, in my text, in my face-to-face conversations, in the engagement shoot. I prepare them to feel that on their wedding day. I wrestled in college, and we drilled and drilled and drilled and drilled the same moves over and over and over and over again, thousands upon thousands upon thousands of hours. And the reason why is because when we got into that very short 6-minute match, literally a small fraction of what I'd trained, when we got into that 6-minute match, it was automatic, and there was no stress, there was no anxiety, and I felt natural. Okay, it's just kind of the same thing. If you don't want somebody to be a bridezilla on the wedding day, you need to groom them to be what you want them to be. And in my case, I want them to feel inspiration and happiness and joy when interacting with me. You'll find that if you do this, you will stand out among all other vendors every time. I guarantee it. And you can also achieve the state of my clients, and that is no more bridezillas. Okay, so how can you never have a bridezilla or the like with onboarding? I'm going to talk about that in the final action step here. So look back at the 3 previous action steps that we just took. I want you to really, really look at them. And if you did them, then I want you to think about how you can go the extra mile for your clients after they booked you. Because that's what we're really talking about. How can you go above and beyond and the extra mile? That's all this is. This isn't special. How can you practice? How can you handhold? How can you lead and guide your clients to that emotion and keep them in the feels, keep them feeling good about interacting with you, and reassure them that their decision to hire you and spend thousands of dollars on you was a good decision. That's gonna keep them away from that bridezilla state. And again, so you're gonna look back at the 3 previous action steps and really look and think about how you can go the extra mile for your clients after they booked you. Think about this, journal it, brainstorm it, spend time asking yourself, how can I go the extra mile? Okay, so you're gonna write this sentence down, and then you're gonna finish it on paper. Right? Don't just think about it, write it down. So write this down. My clients are important to me, and they help me sustain my passion for photography. I will go the extra mile for the clients that book me by, and then you finish the sentence. Okay? So simple, so powerful, so important, and it will keep your clients feeling great. It will keep you in that mindset to lead them and guide them to the shoots and after the shoots, and you know what they're going to do. This is the consistently repeated scenario with me. At the end of every single wedding, almost every single wedding that I've ever shot, I have not only the bride and groom coming up to me, but I have all the wedding party almost. I have the mom and dad. I have family members. I have random friends coming up to me by the end of the night, and they're like, "Man, you did so good today. It was so awesome to watch you work. Like, you're just so inspirational," right? And I'm sitting there like, yes, that's the emotion I want to exude. And I'm also thinking in the back of my head, I'm like, you haven't even seen any of the photos yet. How are you saying that I did a good job? That's evidence that the photos really aren't what's important to my clients and my work and my services. And it's an incredible feeling to know that my photos are not what always, or the photos of a shoot in the moment aren't going to be the end all for how my clients feel or how my potential clients feel about my brand and me and my services. Again, because photography is really just 10% of what photographers do. So onboarding is very, very important. And I've given you 4 action steps to take. Really spend time on those 4 action steps. Okay, if you want to learn more, if you're not in the Edit for Influence Bootcamp, you can go there and check it out. I go a lot deeper. I have 20 straight days of really good lessons like this. So join us. Thank you so much for watching, and see you next time.